Coming up on the Angus Report, dollar indexes can help simplify sire selection decisions.
The Environmental Defense Fund and Tyson Foods partner up to meet consumer demand for sustainably grown food.
We visit with American Angus Auxiliary members.
And we learn about Dave Nichols' role in establishing performance records in this year's I Am Angus Documentary. This is the Angus Report. Welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera.
And I'm Clint Mefford.
This week, we're talking about dollar indexes. Dr. Matt Spangler, an animal science professor and extension beef genetics specialist at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, gave a crash course to dollar indexes at the 2018 Angus Convention.
Economic selection indices, or as maybe some producers would know them as the dollar values, are really the best means to select on multiple traits at the same time and are really designed for the commercial industry to be able to gauge differences in net profit by the selection decisions or the sire selection decisions they make. So really it's a tool designed for commercial producers to use when selecting bulls. Seed stock producers, really their goal is to increase genetics or make genetic change, and so really change the component traits or the EPDs that feed into the economic selection indices. It's really important for commercial producers to clearly identify what their breeding objectives or breeding goals are, and that starts by answering a few simple questions. Do I retain replacement heifers or not? How and when do I market my calves? Do I sell at weaning, or do I retain ownership through the feed yard? And really, once those questions are answered, producers then can determine which index is the best for them to use. So if a producer doesn't retain replacement heifers and retains ownership on all calves born through the feed yard and markets towards a CAB-based grid, something like Angus's dollar B or dollar beef index is perfect. It's a terminal index. If, however, they retain replacement females and sell calves at weaning, then dollar beef probably isn't the appropriate index because it makes the assumptions that all calves are fed out. So producers should look at something like dollar wean calf or dollar cow energy value.
Dr. Spangler stressed the importance of differentiating terminal and maternal goals.
The reality is the more traits we try to improve at the same time, the less progress we'll make in any one of them. So if we can narrow the list of traits that directly impact our profit, we'll be able to make more progress in each one of those. One way to do that as a commercial producer is to clearly choose whether I'm terminal or whether I'm maternal in nature. And so there's a potential for producers to actually purchase or outsource the development of replacement females and then simply use terminal bulls on those. If producers decide to be maternal in nature, that really says their main source of profit is generating replacement females for other commercial producers. So clearly delineating between those two broad goals can help us make progress faster.
He also noted that the indexes will change as more accurate information is received over time.
Economic indexes or dollar values don't have an accuracy that's directly published with them. However, if the component EPDs, the EPDs that feed into the index are low accuracy, the index is lower accuracy as well and is more subject to change as we get additional information. So producers should be aware of that. And the other thing that's important to realize is when we're making bull selection decisions, it's a future investment. It's not based on what the prices are today. It's based on what the prices will be oftentimes a year or more into the future. And the best way we forecast that is to get averages over complete cattle cycles historically.
Contact your extension agent to learn more about dollar indexes.
Tyson Foods and the Environmental Defense Fund are teaming up to meet consumer demand for more sustainably grown food. The partnership will initially target 500,000 acres of corn. Plans to focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving water quality, and maximizing farmer profitability. Tyson is asking growers to use Farmers Business Network and My Farm's technologies for the project. Farmers Business Network will reach out to farmers who are looking to enhance their sustainability efforts, and My Farm's plans to pilot a new method to calculate and minimize nitrogen loss. Jenny Aylen, director of the Environmental Defense Fund and Business Supply Chain Program, said, quote, "We're using scientific analysis to measure the benefits of sustainable farming practices, help companies like Tyson evaluate the impact of their sustainability initiatives, and inspire transparency across the supply chain," unquote. Justin Whitmore, Executive Vice President of the Continuous Improvement And Chief Sustainability Officer at Tyson said joining forces will help to deliver value to growers, businesses, and the environment. The effort will help Tyson reach its goal of working with farmers to improve environmental practices on 2 million acres of corn by 2020. Visit TysonFoods.com to learn more about the partnership. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Angus Report after a break.
Welcome back to the Angus Report. Casey Cobb is an Angus Link field representative for the American Angus Association.
I caught up with Casey to talk about the impact Angus Link will have on feeder cattle. Casey, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about the Angus Link feeder cattle program and what you do for the American Angus Association.
Well, the Angus Link feeder cattle program is a commercial program put forth by the Angus Association to aid the commercial cow-calf producer, the guy that invests in better genetics and employs good management practices, help him identify his calves and separate his calves from the average in the rest of the industry. It also serves as a benefit to marketing organizations, the sale barns, the video marketing platforms, to identify better cattle, better genetically capable cattle, better managed cattle, and channel those into buyers that are trying to source those kind of cattle. It helps the feeder in terms of minimizing his risk, maximizing predictability on those cattle, and channeling those cattle that are going to reach premiums when they're at the packing plant, channeling those cattle into markets that are better suited for them, maximizing profitability and ultimately leaving less money on the table for the cow-calf producer.
Sure. So essentially the association has taken its already established dollar indexes and we're giving that tool to commercial producers, right? But dollar indexes can be a little complex to learn. What makes this program easy?
Sure. The Sire Group EPDs go into an algorithm that puts out 3 scores. The beef index, the feeder index, and the grid index that signifies how these cattle are going to perform, or their genetic potential to perform. And it's an easy to read number, it's an easy to validate number for the livestock buyer to make judgments when he's buying these cattle, bidding on these cattle, to assess the value to them. It's a quick and easy way for them to assess the potential of these cattle.
Now, the dollar indices may be quite a foreign concept to feedlot operators. As part of your job, you help educate them. How do you communicate those values to them?
Well, it is foreign to the cattle feeders, but they do understand good cattle. They do understand better performance, and this is just a way to validate that. And primarily, feeders are selling a lot more cattle on a grid on a daily basis. This gives them the opportunity to buy cattle on a grid, in essence, as far as they don't have to wait until they send them to the packing plant to see exactly how they did. They have a better idea of what they're going to do, so it minimizes their risk and helps them make better marketing decisions. Instead of hoping the cattle are going to perform a certain way at the packing plant, they have a little more information at their hands and can make better decisions that help them also leave a little less money on the table.
Sure. How do you identify Angus Link calves? If I want to buy some, where do I go? How do I identify them?
Well, on AngusLink.com, the website, there's a side for producers. If they want to enroll, they can click that. There's a side for feeders. If they want to find cattle, they click that. There's a Find Cattle button, and when they click that, the marketing certificates will show up with the contact information of each producer, their management history, any additional information about those cattle, so they can source those cattle by region, by weight, by sex, any way that they want to sort those cattle, they can find them.
Sure. Thank you, Casey, for coming on down and talking with us about the program.
We check in now on the latest cattle market news with our market update, brought to you by Cattle Facts.
Hello, I'm Patrick Linnell with the Cattle Facts Update. As we settle into the new year, cattle producers are trying to become familiar with the market personality and expectations for feeder cattle and calves in 2019. The distinct seasonal patterns of feeder cattle and calf prices are a useful starting place in forming price expectations. Feeder cattle prices tend to make a seasonal low in the January to April timeframe as large numbers of calves that were sent to backgrounding yards or winter grazing operations are marketed. In addition to the large supply, currently poor feed yard pen conditions from tough winter weather are also hampering feeder cattle demand. CattleFax expects that U.S. average 750-pound steer prices will find a low in the upper 130s in the first quarter of the year, although there is risk to the mid-130s. From there, feeder prices will seasonally improve into the spring and summer. Into the spring, expect price resistance in the upper 140s to 150 area, with the level of the deferred live cattle futures playing a major role in spring feeder values. From the winter-spring low to the summer high, feeder cattle have averaged a 16% rally over the past 10 years. A large feeder cattle supply and the potential for more summer grazing cattle suggests a milder rally this year, with a summer high in the upper 150s. The calf market, basis of 550 weight steer, has already seen a seasonal improvement from the lows this past fall. Expect calf demand and calf prices to make a seasonal high in the coming months as summer grazing operators fill their needs. Again, large supplies will be price limiting, while positive summer grazing prospects will be positive, suggesting a reasonable expectation for a high is in the low to mid 180s. A lot could change between now and the 2019 fall calf run. An average seasonal decline from the first half high to second half low is about 17%. Due to a larger expected calf crop in 2019 and the risk of softer demand from the cattle feeding segment, a slightly stronger decline is possible and implies price risk to the lower to mid 140s for a fall low. For the Angus Report and CattleFax, I'm Patrick Linnell.
To learn more about CattleFax, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit cattlefax.com.
Next on the Angus Report, the American Angus Auxiliary sponsors several events throughout the year.
We visit with some members to learn about the important role the Auxiliary plays for the American Angus Association. Stay tuned. The American Angus Auxiliary is an extraordinary group of women dedicated to supporting youth and the Angus breed. We met with some of the members to discuss the educational and promotional programs the Auxiliary offers.
We are a diverse group of women that come together every year, and we support the juniors. It could be through scholarships, the cook-off every summer, the National Junior Angus Show, the showmanship contest, the Silver Pitcher Award, and really what we're behind-the-scenes support system.
So if you come to the National Junior Angus Show, you'll see tons of events sponsored by the Auxiliary. Beyond that, we also have the scholarships that you'll see. We award 5 men and 5 young ladies scholarships each year. We also have a Angus gift barn and our online circle auction, which are some of our fundraisers to help support all of those events.
Women Connected happens every other year, and it typically is either in St. Joe, Missouri, or at Certified Angus Beef, and it's a way for women to come together for 2 or 3 days and learn about the Angus industry as well as other things. Like this year, Angus Genetics were there, and they talked about DNA testing, which was great for the women to learn more about. And then we always do some kind of cooking seminar and learn about different ways to prepare beef cuts. The women do create lifelong friendships. I have 2 or 3 ladies that I'm super close with, and our kids are now super close, so that continues on, and it really brings the Angus breed that much closer. You know, you have friends that maybe in California or New York State.
So I actually grew up in an Angus Auxiliary family. My grandmother helped form the Michigan Angus Auxiliary, which celebrated their 50th year a year ago, and it was her passion that she passed on to my mother, and then one of those that it just, as you grow up in the Angus business, you get to see all these women that serve as mentors. So it was kind of a natural fit for me to just find my way back into the Auxiliary.
It's always great for women to get involved. You know, the women of the American Angus Auxiliary come from many backgrounds. Some of us are ranch wives, some of us are professional ladies that work in the corporate world. And it's great to bring all these women together because they bring so much to the Angus Auxiliary, to the Angus breed, and to the youth.
It's just a great opportunity for network and fellowship with other breeders from across the nation. And they're doing wonderful things to help our youth and help our communities. Getting involved in the American Angus Auxiliary is an easy process. Our application is actually on our website, and for a small fee, you can become as active as you'd like to be. Membership in the American Angus Auxiliary starts with just either attending a meeting or filling out a form. We have 2 meetings a year. One is at our National Junior Angus Show and the other is at Angus Convention. And it's a great opportunity to meet women from across the nation and develop lifelong friendships.
Up next, we learn about the impact Dave Nichols has made on the industry. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Angus Report. Dave Nichols was instrumental in establishing cattle performance records. Let's look now at his journey in this year's new I Am Angus documentary, The Art of Greatness.
Nichols Farms is not a part of landed gentry. My dad grew up in Atlantic, Iowa, and was the first member of his family to graduate from high school. He bought a 240-acre farm, and he did well. I had a dad that really understood what it takes to always looking at the horizon of what will be and never question what can be. At 9 years of age, I came home to my parents and I said, I want to buy a purebred Angus heifer. They said, okay. So I bought a heifer, grand champion at the county fair. What a deal. And then this heifer had this calf, the best calf I ever saw. This calf started bloating, and he kind of quit growing. And then his forehead started bulging and his eyes kind of bugged out. The county extension director took me to Iowa State at age 14, going on 15. And he introduced me to Dr. Jay Lush. And Jay Lush took me under his wing and explained simple autosomal recessives to me. And my cow had a snorter dwarf calf. The paper come out on Thursday. We were eating lunch on Thursday, and the yard filled up with cars, pickups, and trucks to buy a bull that would not sire dwarfs. Jay Lush is to genetics what Einstein is to physics. And he instilled in me this passion to learn about genetics.
The use of records has helped us increase weaning weights by...
My brother Lee went to Iowa State as I did. He dropped out of Iowa State with a 4-point all college. The closest I ever come to a 4-point at Iowa State was my blood alcohol level. It was really an easy thing to succeed in the 60s selling bulls, because our competition was laughing and making fun of us. It was generally accepted that good cattlemen could tell by looking at cattle. None of them really related to anything to a profit or how much meat you put on the table.
And if the small and medium-sized Angus breeders don't have performance records, they are going to lose this market to someone else.
The 70s was the solid days of Nichols Farms. We were selling bulls for $1,000 a piece. We could buy 5 acres of Adair County land for $1,000, and did. I often joked with my folks that it took them most of their lifetime to pay for 2 farms. Lee and I's goal was to buy a farm a year, and thought we could do it for the rest of our life. In 1980, the farm economy was in a dive. We were heavily leveraged because we were buying a farm every year, and things were fine until Lee had a bad case of the flu. His good wife Lillian took him to a doctor, and he come back diagnosed with lung cancer, probably caused because of Agent Orange. He was diagnosed with this in March, in the middle of calving, and we got through calving and so on. And he died in mid-August. And I called a meeting, a staff meeting, and I said I was calling the auctioneer, and we were going to sell out, and we were going to have a dispersion. And then Lillian said, I'm quitting my job, and I'm coming to help you. And Phyllis said, been on the school board, jobs like that, she says, I'm quitting every one of them, and I'm coming to help you. So we sat down and we decided the only way we could survive was to double the size of Nichols farms. In the midst of an agricultural economic holocaust, a school teacher and a farm boy decided that we had to double the size of our operation when our neighbors were going broke and selling their farms. So we decided that we would rent enough land and we would get enough cash flow from selling bulls and we would double the size of the operation. And that's what we did. Our loyal, hard-working employees saved Nichols Farms. Nichols Farms today is one of the largest seed stock operations in the country. When you walk in, everybody's busy. It's in the corner of a bull test barn. It doesn't smell like Chanel number 5, and it's noisy, but it's who we are. There's a lot on Y-South 80, and there's a lot up here.
Think of what a 4-H boy from Iowa has done with his life and that of others. What you do or say sometimes lasts more than a lifetime.
He's a good speaker. He goes all around the country, has for many years, and spoken to primarily young people and tried to inspire them.
He's a great one to mentor, to make youngsters realize the opportunities, see the vast impact that he's made, and that they can too. So yes, greatness is probably a small word.
Would you consider yourself to be great?
Yes, I would. I consider myself to be great because I look back at all the young people that write me later in life and say, you know, when my judging team come down to Nichols Farms and you were there, I didn't think I could do it, but I did. As the shadows in my life grow longer and longer, I look back at the single thing that mattered the most. I never, ever, ever turned away a young person who had the passion to learn and live. And all of us will be remembered by what we scattered, not what we gathered.
Bob, there is no question the Angus breed wouldn't be where it is today without great minds like Dave Nichols.
Not to mention the entire beef industry.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right, that's all for this week's Angus Report. We'll return next week with more cattle news and highlights.
In the meantime, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angus TV, to view the full I Am Angus documentary. Thanks for joining us.